right, what's going on, Atlanta
Yes, sir. What's up?
and
What's up?
beyond? What's going on to the world? Welcome.
Yes.
How's everybody doing?
We're here for another show, man.
Another show.
Keeps going and going and going.
We are the Energizer Bunnies, man. The Energizer Bunnies.
You got double duty today, don't you?
I got a single duty, man. I'm gonna be backed out while y'all I'm taking Falgoose place. I was trying to get the blonde wig or the gray wig and give me some glasses. And yeah, so
that would have been cool.
Yeah, we running old school tonight. That's all.
Old
we running
school.
old school.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Running old school. So we are just gonna hang out with y'all, and we got some cool stuff for you. Our brother Lamar Clay is coming in with us tonight.
Yes, sir.
He just got back in the house, so he's running a little behind, and he will be with us momentarily. And we are going to talk about some movie soundtracks. Some of these had really big influence on the music industry. There's one in particular that was a real serious game changer. And there's so many, tonight we're going to kind of focus on really kind of more kind of the blaxploitation stuff a little bit. And then later on, we're going to dive into some other more mainstream, because the movie soundtrack, man, that used to be a serious thing. Like, especially if it was a movie that you liked, what was the first thing you wanted to do? Oh man, I got to get the soundtrack.
Got to get the soundtrack. That's right.
So your earliest recollection, can you remember any movie soundtrack?
Yeah, I don't want to say it because this might be one.
I already know what it is. Bet
you already know.
I already know.
My dad had it on 8-track. That's all I remember.
Oh, okay. Well, you going that far back? Okay, I didn't think you was going that far back.
Oh yeah,
okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so tell me, but what is it?
You want me to tell you?
Yes, sir.
Shaft, bro.
Of course. So really, there's two. That was probably the first one, because that's 1971.
Right.
So there's really
wait, there's Curtis.
There's two or three that were real game changers. Shaft,
right.
Superfly,
that's Curtis,
which for me is my favorite.
Right.
Also, Car Wash,
iconic. Yes.
Iconic, man.
Yes.
And then a couple of other ones. See, we didn't give you the list because we just gonna let you be a little bit surprised. But there's one in particular that often gets overlooked because the movie didn't do very well. But the music was unbelievable, man.
There was one that I liked. That must have been the 90s, maybe. Terrence Blanchard did the Sugar Hill.
Okay.
That was a good one because they had a good mixture. Like, there was a fight scene that was like this burning trumpet solo kind of thing. Romelo's theme. What's the movie? That's Sugar Hill with Wesley Snipes, right?
When he was a drug dealer trying to get out of Yeah, that was a cool movie. That's a cool movie. That's an underrated movie, though, man.
Yeah, didn't like light skinned guys at that time. No, that was a bad one for light skinned guys.
Charlie Murphy was happy chocolate was in vogue, man.
Right.
Finally, it was finally time for Wesley changed the game for that, man.
He did.
As Charlie Murphy said, it long before Wesley Snipes. When him and Eddie were the darkest guys in Hollywood.
Right.
But yeah, that's a cool movie. Movies of that era that bring me back. Jason's Lyric.
Jason Lyric. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Um, I want to say, is it for Love and Basketball? Had a pretty good.
What's the one with Eddie Murphy? Love should have brought you. That's Tony Braxton's song on it.
Oh,
That's
that's
a lot of tracks on that one. Was it
Boomerang.
Boomerang?
Boomerang.
Yeah, Boomerang.
Boomerang was legendary, man.
Right.
I
Oh, let
mean,
me ask you this: were you a fan of the Batman that Prince did?
there was a couple of things that were cool, but
Right.
um, you know, that soundtrack is a little underrated. It's not as bad as some people say,
Right.
but it would not my favorite.
Right.
Definitely,
Right. Right.
for sure. So, John Lamartina, 48 Hours. Okay, so that's the Bus Boys.
Wow.
The boys are back. The Bus Boys, and yeah, I think the Bus Boys were on that soundtrack.
What about, man? I remember I must have been in junior high school when Axel F came out. Bum,
Yep,
ba, 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 da.
of
Everybody
course.
wanted to learn how to
Beverly
play
Hills
that.
Cop. Of course.
You remember that?
You could make a killing as a keyboard instructor
If you
back
could
then.
play that, but play it
You
at the
still
same time because the left hand do ba 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 do ba ba bo ba ba do ba ba bo bo ba ba do ba ba
All
bo.
right, next gig, I want to see it, man. I want to see that. You know, you remember it.
I'm gonna have to shed it all over again, bro.
Who was that?
Do it.
Harold Faltermeyer? Is that that cat's name that came up with that? Harold
That's pretty
Faltermeyer,
good.
something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's like it's like every era has its sort of like its signature sound for
And
like movies.
don't we still have
70s.
some artists that's like stuck in those eras? You're like, they still compose and hear the sounds, the DX7 or whatever those ARP
Well, the
synthesizers.
DX7 is back though, man. The DX7
It is. What?
it's kind of made a comeback a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah, but the 70s, you know, they had a certain sound.
Definitely sound. Bro.
The 80s was all synth, you know, all the synth stuff. The 90s had the explosion of R&B, a lot of the movies you know, and then Spike Lee's movies were always interesting because they had his dad doing the score.
Right.
And then Terrence, who did
Terrence came in with
Mo Better?
Mo Better Blues, yeah.
Which is a good soundtrack.
That's a great soundtrack. I got an interesting story about that.
Okay.
So Branford Marsalis was on that soundtrack with Terrence, right?
Mm-hmm.
So he was telling me that Spike Lee's dad owned a lot of apartment complexes, right? But he's such a straight ahead jazz head that he once kicked Brad Meldau out of his apartment complex because he had a Fender Rhodes and not a real piano.
What?
So that's just a side note. He said, "Nah, man, you gotta have a real upright. You can't have no Fender Rhodes in here. So you got to get out of here." They kicked him out, right?
What?
Yes,
that's hilarious.
Look at the song "Mo Better Blues." It was written by his dad, right? Spike Lee's dad.
Really? I thought that was okay.
So
I didn't know that. Okay.
Think about this. So he's doing a soundtrack. He's doing a song. It's supposed to be the title song of the thing. And Branford said he comes up to him saying, "Hey, this is the song, and it's a swing." And so ba da 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 ba 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 ba.
No way. No way. No way.
So Branford's looking at Terrence. Terrence doesn't say anything, and Branford finally say, "Man, that's hokey, man. That's not," he said, "That's just jive like that." But you know, Spike Lee, what is it, Dewey Lee, right? Dewey. He says, "Man, that's the way I want it. We ain't doing no smooth jazz here. We're doing a real deal like that." Branford's like, "Man, we got to put a beat to it or something like that." He's like, "That's hokey, and we got to slow it down, right?" So he tells Spike, "Man, forget these dudes, man. I'll do the soundtrack myself." And Spike like, no, man. Let them do it, right? So he said, "Bruh," he said, "that song blew up, was on the R&B charts and everything. Branford said next time he saw Mr. Lee, he said, "Hey man, how you doing, man?" Dapping him up and stuff like that. He's like he was getting a check in the bank and stuff like that, man. He was like, "Man, good stuff, man. Y'all did a great job with it, bro."
Hey, you got any more ideas we can collaborate on?
But if you think about it, that song sounds really sad as a swing.
Man, I can't, dude. You just hurt my spirit with that. I'm already struggling from last night, and you coming with this,
Right.
man.
The best part is when he kicked Brad Mehldau out of the bar because he had a
that
Fender Rhodes.
man, I got to find out more about that story.
Yes,
That's funny.
yes.
How you gonna kick somebody out, man, based on their choice of instruments?
That's how much of a jazz Nazi he was, bro. He's like straight ahead or die, bro. But when he got that, Branford said when he got that first check, bro, he was like, "Hey man, how y'all doing?"
Man,
that joint was on the R&B charts on the radio for a long time.
I'm trying to think, man. Yeah, I mean, I had the soundtrack, so
yeah,
it was played on. I mean, well, I'm trying to think of what year is that, man?
Oh,
that's got to be like
9.
that's the third. So she's got to. Well, there's one before she's got
1990.
Got to say like 90-91.
Yeah, 1990. That's what it says.
Okay, so 1990. I'm trying to think, man.
Because remember they had the song that your girl sang too. That was big. Da, 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 da. I gotta look at the soundtrack now.
I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, because that was on the radio too.
Right.
Harlem Blues. That's the name of it.
Right. And 1990 that's a weird time for it's like smooth. It's more, smooth is because all of those jazz flavor stations are popping up.
But that also the time that Wynton and them took over because like Wynton came on the scene 84, 86 or something. So you had the two different.
Well, like you before that, because Black Codes is 82. Man, I want to say Black Codes it may be 80. I thought it was like maybe 81, 82, but you might be right.
I think he won his Grammy in 86 for classical and jazz. That
was right. Yeah. And then what's the standards volume?
1 through whatever.
That was a huge. Yeah, those are huge, man. Man, funny story about Black Codes.
Okay,
that was one of the Columbia records and tapes.
That was 1985, by the way.
You remember when you get 11 for 11 for a penny?
Right, but you get that subscription.
So I have no idea why, because I hadn't really listened to much jazz back then. So I was like, but something told me about that, man. Something told me to get that. And I was like, man,
right.
I heard that intro. I was like, oh, this is jazz like this? I like this.
You had it on cassette. That's real.
I had it on cassette, man. But yes, so this is the album I was talking about. So this album,
Brad figured it out.
Man, this is this is Marvin Gaye's jazz record. So this is some really cool stuff on this album.
But the album was bad. I don't remember.
The film was a total bomb. It was you remember Kevin Hooks, who went on to be a great director, but he was on the White Shadow, and his dad is the star of the movie, and but man, it bombed. I mean, when I say bombed, I mean shoo.
Oh wow.
So but that's the one. So we're going to talk about that. And
did you welcome everybody? We didn't start the spiel off, bro.
Oh man, we just talking, man. Oh, you want me to do all? Oh, okay. I gotta welcome everybody. I think people are just enjoying the conversation, man. But thank you. Welcome to Local Musicians
XP.
See, now you were ready for it because you brought it up. That's why you hit it on. That's why you hit it on note, man.
I got it, bro.
It's like boom. I know what
Waiting
you're
all
doing,
week
man.
for this.
I know what you're doing. Welcome to the show. We have been talking for almost, 17 minutes. Wow. No, 15 minutes because we started a little bit late. So thank you for joining us tonight. If you're on YouTube, subscribe to the show. Give us a follow on Facebook and Instagram, all the great platforms out there. Share this, tell your friends, hang out with us. And you just might either be entertained or you may learn a little bit something. So we're good at both. So
have you ever gotten one of your songs in a movie?
Why do I feel like I have? That's a great question. There's something that tells me yes. There's some, but I can't remember exactly when.
I have one that's
back in the 90s.
Oh, right.
You
okay.
had...
I have one in the movie and I have one for a document. Well, the short documentary I did all the music for, but the one movie, it's so surreal, man, because they just gave me a clip where I needed to just match up some music. It was 3 spots, but they only chose one of my songs, right? So, man, we go to the movie. Well, I see the clip that they give me. I submit the track, they accept it, and he says it's gonna be in a movie, but I have no idea where this is in the movie, right? So we're just watching the movie, me and Roberta. I'm just, can't even really think about the plot because I'm listening for or looking for that scene. And it finally comes up, and I was like, that's it right there, right? And so then I wait till the end, and I remember taking a picture and seeing my my name there. And I was like, that was really cool. Now, the good thing about it is when COVID hit, people were watching a lot of TV. And that movie came on BET a bunch of times. And I remember getting a check in the mail. And I was like, what is this? So I got a royalty check as a writer and because it was on my label production for BMI. So I remember hurrying up and dropping that bad boy off at the bank. And whoever was the bank teller, he must be like an aspiring artist. He's like, hey, man, can I ask you a question? So where'd you get this check from, this BMI check, bro? He said, it's publishing. How'd you get that? I was like, brother, you got other customers, man. I was like, you just look up BMI. You got to sign up with BMI. He said, how was the process, brother? I said, they got other people in line, bro. He said, it'll be all right. I'm like, man, but that came through at a time that I was in shock. And it was only one song. So you could imagine the revenue from the entire soundtrack that you do.
Right. Cool, man. Our guest showed up momentarily, then he jumped back out.
Faded out like he was Zortan or something.
Like he forgot. There he is.
He materializing.
He had to make some last minute
in their head, bro. You know something's going on. Like
had to make some last minute adjustments, bro.
Right.
Last minute adjustments.
Sometimes things don't cooperate. I know how it is, man.
Oh, absolutely.
I'm happy to see this cat, bro. I've never been on a show with y'all, so I'm like really, really excited.
Yep. So this will be the first one. We haven't been able to hook up, man. He's been traveling. Last couple of weeks, that's nothing, man. That's nothing. So without further ado, we're gonna go ahead and bring our special guest in to the house for we're gonna do deep vinyl as a threesome tonight.
Whoa, there he is,
my man.
Literally fresh in the house, coming up from Florida. I had to drop my boys off at Conyers and get here to Cobb County, shirt all wrinkled and everything.
But you made it, bro. You made it. You here?
Hey, man, you got your 5th grade T-shirt on, man. It's summertime, man. You can take that off, man.
This is my gang, 5th grade gang. What? I got to start thinking. I'm gonna be teaching exclusively math next year, so.
Oh wow!
I'll split it between math and science, so I got to take some time of this summer break just to get acclimated with teaching the whole 5th grade class. The whole 5th grade. at my school next year.
I know they get earlier and earlier in the stuff that we used to get in high school. Now they doing Pythagorean theorem and everything like that.
You remember the show? Are You Smarter Than a Fifth Grader?
Right.
I'm not.
Man, I'm like, I don't know any of these questions.
I was pretty good, but not the math stuff.
Man. No way.
The reason why I came in and came off is because my iPad isn't fully charged, and it's a different one than the one that I use this stand for, and I'm trying to make this stand work.
Okay.
Because the placement of the charger is completely different than the other generation. So I've been trying to, because it's a little bit bigger because I have a case on it. And I'm just trying to get it stationary. So
we thought you were something, bro. You faded in and faded out, bro.
I told you had to make some last minute adjustments, man. You had to go back and,
Yeah, I'm just trying to get it to stay on this stand because it's a smaller stand, but it puts it at right.
Well, we'll let you get situated. What we're gonna do is we're gonna so I'm gonna kind of read off a little bit of the list that we kind of talked about. Mm-hmm. And again, this was a show.
Let me know the list, but okay, I could be surprised.
No, well, the reason I know is because we were trying to get that show together for so long, man. And then, I mean, literally, it's been like 3 weeks, something like that.
Yeah, it was pretty much immediately after the last one we did.
And then Brian let me know that he's got a. No, I'm not even going to lie for him. I was going to say he had a previous engagement. He's at a Braves game, man. He's at a Braves game,
He told us that he was going to be there sometimes.
Yeah, well, that's one thing that he's, but I ain't, Braves, man. Anyway, so when we did the original, because we had to pare it down too. So but he was getting all the stuff together, so I didn't even think about, and then it was like a last minute thing, like, why don't you just come on tonight and we'll just talk about it. So that's why you didn't get the list, brother, but you're about to get it now.
Okay, cool.
All right. So a couple of these I don't even because he came up with some that I don't even know, dude. So
well, I wonder.
Okay.
Did Quincy Jones ever do something?
Well, that's a great question because he looked up a couple of things. So of course, Roots. Okay, now that's television. Yes,
that was a bang. Da 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 da. Dang, I need to do a cover.
So right, man, and my mom, we used to have that album.
Right.
Used to have that album, there it is.
Boom.
So, but in terms of major motion pictures, let's just answer that right away. That's a good one. What did he do?
He did so much TV. He did Ironside. It's a lot of TV that had soundtracks. He did some international movies, like French movies. Not much on the black cinema portion, except, of course, you cannot forget that he was all over. Did I pull it? I hope I did. He was all over The Wiz. That was his time. And there we go.
Yes.
Emerald City Sequence.
Yep.
He's on down the road.
Dude, one of the scariest parts in that movie.
I know exactly what the subway.
Subway. Da, 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 da.
Which is Watermelon Man. The Herbie the intro to Watermelon Man is the music to when the cats are coming down.
It's very much
it's the exact. We just saw it not too. I was like, man, that's what it was on TV.
Wow.
But that, it's the Watermelon Man. It's that's what they used for that.
That was creepy.
And then they it morphed into
they
like sped it up and did some other stuff with it. But
okay.
But All right, yeah, that's the only because he was really television. Man, he was.
Yeah,
I don't think he was trying to mess with that movie stuff, man. That's a whole nother world.
It's just weird that he hadn't been in it because he was just so prolific in the TV genre and film.
Now I have to, because I did grab these. These don't constitute as black cinema. I literally was having a conversation about this because this is a very hard movie to find.
Oh, that's a great one. That's a. Is that a? Oh, that's not the one I was thinking of, though. I don't know that one. What is that?
This is called The Lost Man with Sidney Poitier. I've never seen the movie. I was just talking to a friend earlier today about how unavailable this movie is. I only grabbed it because it was the Quincy Jones soundtrack without seeing the movie at all. But of course, Sidney.
What about the one with Bill Cosby and Sidney Poitier? Uptown Saturday Night Live.
Uptown Saturday Night. Well, let's do it again.
Let's do it again.
That was Curtis Mayfield.
Curtis Mayfield.
That was iconic too.
Right. So
and Staples.
You got that one right here.
Yeah, and let's start with that. Let's just start with that one. So
okay. Let me just conclude the Quincy one because I have this one right here. Right. Also, of course, this later became In the Heat of the Night.
Yeah,
Mr. Tibbs.
That's a big one. That's a big
one too. So, not necessarily a lot of black cinema experience, but a lot of soundtrack experience. Yeah, a lot of just regular European movies, etc. that he did.
That was a big movie though. That they call me Mr. Tibbs.
Yeah,
that's a good one. Well, that's the sequel to In the Heat of the Night, right?
Right.
Well, the series was a spin-off of all of it, that ran all, through the 80s and 90s.
I'm talking about the movie. I'm talking about the
movie.
Right. Yeah. The movie, and that's the sequel to the movie.
Mm-hmm.
In the actual movie, In the Heat of the Night, which is
he did do that because Ray Charles did the theme of that song. I've seen that In the Heat of the Night, just never picked it up.
Wow.
It's like an Oranges album, if I remember it correctly, so.
Mark, just a quick side note. What is your interest in these soundtrack albums that you have? You just kind of picked them up over the years, or it was intriguing to you? Because most people, their collection is like more kind of specific. It seems like you got a lot of different things. What made you decide to get those?
Oh, various reasons. Being transparent, hip hop brought me to a lot of going deep into catalogs of different artists and everything. And you have certain classic blaxploitation movies, or I rather call it black cinema movies, that were heavy funk driven soundtracks. You have people like Curtis Mayfield, Isaac Hayes, Willie Hutch, etc. that made some of their best albums were soundtrack albums. So that was one of my earliest collections was Isaac Hayes, because he had so many double albums that intrigued me. It's like he had a soundtrack that I'll cover that was a double album. Live at the when he did the live album, it's kind of, I was gonna say Latin Casino, but that's another group. But when he did the double in Tahoe, the Tahoe live at Tahoe, that was a double album. Black Moses was a double album. And, so I wanted to get all those double albums early and things like that. And then just going deeper into it, he had some periods where he was a star of the movie and he did the soundtrack, which I'll go over when I go over his soundtrack work. But, he just was prolific and just getting those, whereas they did soundtracks sometimes just to put a 30-second sound bite in there, but it was, a 4-minute song, just be able to get that song. And you were all talking about Trouble Man. That was an extraordinary soundtrack. And sometimes when you get to the cinematic version of it, they have different takes that they play in the actual movie than it is on the actual soundtrack. That happens quite a few times. I want to say, because I've only seen this movie once, Across 110th Street is not the exact song, if that's the one I'm remembering correct, but there are a few where even the main theme varies from the actual soundtrack, the soundtrack version. Trouble Man had, originally, of course, it was a single album, which I have in here somewhere, but they extended it. They had so many, here we go. Great gate for this. To show you back. Hit you with those boots.
Oh wow,
man, come on.
Of course, the back always.
Man, come on.
Movie scenes. But there was a label called Hippo Select that was doing a lot of Motown reissues, and they were getting access to master tapes that had stuff that hadn't been commercially released, especially his In Our Lifetime album. They had different mixes. They had this song called Nuclear Juice that was on, which sounds like a soundtrack song. It's an instrumental. Jamal often plays it to this day on WCLK, but just a groove. He bought his studio. He was pretty much living in there, but there was a lot of stuff he was doing, a lot of instrumental stuff as well with Bohannon, etc., that didn't see the light of day until much later.
Man, that Trouble Man soundtrack was out of print, man, for so long.
So they put it out as a double CD. I wish I would have grabbed the anniversary version. I got it when it first came out because I was always subscribing to Hippo Select. But when it went out, when they went under, it went out of print quickly. And you're talking about a double CD, it was costing $200 plus because they only did a limited edition, a limited amount of pressings. And in the middle of the campaign for that was one of the last releases I can remember getting from them. They just went under. And so if you didn't get it, they didn't, but they never put on those albums on vinyl. They just made them deluxe CDs. They did Hear My Dear Like That, Lifetime, and then the last one they did Trouble Man. It seems like they were getting to the 40th anniversary, then they would release these anniversary versions and things like that.
Right. Well, let's start, man. Let's start with Trouble Man since you got that, you already got that in hand.
Okay.
And the impact of this record, this was what I call Marvin Gaye's jazz album.
Yes.
And shout out to my man Dave Stryker if he's checking us out. Great guitar player in New York City. Did a killing version of this, man. That you would organ version, instrumental version of.
Wait, I remember that. I haven't picked that album because he released it as an album.
He did, he did a whole bunch of bunch of stuff like that, man, with the organ trio.
Did he do Don't Mess with Mr. T? Did he do that one? What song was it?
No, he did. God, I have to go back. I played a couple of shows with him with that stuff. But Trouble Man was one of the. Well, actually, he also the What's Going On. The idea of what we're doing with that came from what I heard Stryker do, but he reharmed and did all this incredible stuff to it too. But a whole bunch of tunes. But man, I'll play you that. I'll send you the Trouble Man track because I don't know if he ever really. I don't know if how well that album did, but it was several years ago, man. But man, let's talk about this record because, I don't ever, all of Marvin Gaye's records are stone cold R&B, soul, more on the funk thing, but he was obviously a huge jazz lover, and this was his opportunity to play, I think he's playing piano on this record. Is that right? And
it's Moog and Ivory Ticklin.
Yeah. And and there's some really great pieces on that record, man. So go ahead and start talk about that a little bit, man. I'm gonna pull it up the info on it.
All right. Now, amazingly, I've never seen the Trouble Man movie. I've been meaning to buy that.
It's horrible. It's horrible.
I've owned 4 different CDs of Trouble Man, the deluxe edition, and all the different pressings of it over the years. Daryl and Moose has it sitting right there in his store. I just never pick it up. Of course, there's a lot of instrumentals here. He gives a shout out to saxophonist Trevor Lawrence, who played on a lot of his sessions, but notoriously, Motown didn't list a lot of musicians on some of their classic albums.
Right, they sure didn't.
So Trevor Lawrence played a lot of solos for him. I want to say he's actually on What's Going On. You had Gene Page that did some arrangements here, along with the horn arrangements were done by James Carmichael, who did a lot of work with the Commodores. He has a lot of credits. Some of my favorites, of course, the vocal version of Trouble Man.
Yeah.
That one definitely was a hit. Life is a Gamble. Don't Mess with Mr. T. And one that has some vocals on it that I probably listen to more than anything on here is Poor Abby Walsh. Oh my God, I love that song. And As far as a song that it was recognized, when I talked to you about how I was introduced through hip hop to a lot of these classic albums, but the song T Plays It Cool, that song has been sampled at least 40 times. It was very prominently sampled. Touch of Jazz by Jazzy Jeff and the Fresh Prince. In fact, they did it as a DJ showcase, so it was just not only that, but he cut up some CTI, etc. And they revisited it as a 12-inch and added the Fresh Prince on some vocals, some lyrics on there too. So that one is very recognized for the samples.
And Gene Page was very prolific as an arranger. He did stuff for even Barbra Streisand and Whitney Houston, Roberta Flack, and
a lot of Chicago artists too.
Elton John, he did some stuff for too, I believe.
I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah, he's very prolific as an arranger and a conductor too. So they didn't have that many black people doing that at that time. Was that 1970? What is that about? 72?
Yeah, this album was 72. But
72, yeah. So they didn't have that many, but to be an orchestrator and arranger as a person of color is like, that's huge.
Yes.
Yeah.
Two of my favorite drummers, Styx Hooper from
Crusaders,
Joe Sample and the Crusaders, and Dugu Chancellor, man, are on these are on this. Do you see a bass player listed, Lamar? I don't see bass.
Now, if I had to grab the CD, I believe it has all the credits on there.
Because Marvin Gaye is credited with vocals, drums, keys, piano, synth, and producer, and also some arrangement credits. But I don't see, unless Ray Parker Jr. is on here, who's one of the most killing. A lot of people don't even know. We talked a little bit. What was that show? We talked a little bit about Ray Parker, man, and we talked about radio and talked about his career a little bit, man.
He had that sharing a story about something. We talked about that briefly, but yeah, he's known for more than just Ghostbusters. I think everybody.
Man,
oh yeah.
I mean, he's on
ESOP with Herbie. He's killing on that.
He's on Talking Book. He's on Stevie Wonder's Talking Book. Maybe Your Baby is Ray Parker Jr. Right. And then so he was a great session, and actually the
Barry
great
White.
Right, and the great guitar from Toto, Steve Lukather, always mentions Ray Parker, man. It's a huge influence and almost mentor, because he was doing a bunch of stuff. There's some funny stories, man. If you ever check out Lukather's book, he tells some great stories about everybody, but he mentions, he talks a lot about Ray Parker Jr., man, and his he was a cat, man. So but I don't see a bass. I don't see bass, but it'd be interesting to see who know who the bass player was, but it is what it is. So, but cool.
Classic.
Yeah.
Are we backtracking to the Curtis Mayfield joint? Or
we can do that. Let's go. You want to go to let's do it again?
Yeah, just because that album cover is JJ from Good Times.
He is right there.
Wow.
And the legendary.
Man, what a crazy! I remember when my parents went to see this movie. This is 1975, probably 76, 75, something like that. Right. I don't know how I remember that, but I remember them coming home for some reason from seeing Let's Do It Again.
Yeah, and that's the sequel to Uptown Saturday Night, right? Where it was Silky Slim, Geechee Dan.
Yeah.
Bruh.
Oh, jeez.
One of the coldest lines in that movie. Silky Slim got the pantyhose over his head to face. He said, I want everybody to strip down, take off your clothes, like that. The chick said, I'm not wearing any underwear. He said, I said strip. He said, my. He said, Dave, my brother Dave can remember the line, but he says, never has so many giving so much, so little to very much, something like that, right?
Yeah, I know the line you're talking.
Yeah. I was like,
A
oh,
lot of
that is
people
so
quote
doggone cold,
a
right?
variation of that. Yeah.
But yeah, so Let's Do It Again is the sequel to that. Bill Cosby, Sidney Poitier playing off of each other. I believe.
And then you have a sequel.
And James, wait, what's his
yeah,
name?
yes, James Evans. Oh,
Jimmy
Amos. James
yeah.
Amos. Yeah.
Yeah, so he was in it, and it was like
Harry
being
Belafonte.
hypnotized to fight and win a fight. So I remember that one. Yeah.
So after Let's Do It Again, Curtis Mayfield returned with just Mavis Staple and did a piece of the action.
Piece of the action. That's the
so
other
Mavis
one.
Staple did it.
And Sidney Poitier.
And now, not to be limited to just.
Wait, do you have a piece of the action soundtrack?
I don't. I don't know why I've never picked it up. I've seen it so many times, but I've never picked it up. Now, of course, we're going to get to his section, but he did so many classic soundtracks for others. A personal favorite of mine was just listening to Mr. Welfare on my ride back up to Georgia. This is a masterful way that Curtis Mayfield could take a situation that he may have never been in. Wow. He may write about a single mother raising 5 kids who's battling against the welfare system about, what the limitations. Do not bring a man in this house. Right. There's a verse on Mr. Welfare, which is the first song, where he says he compares the welfare man to the FBI and being as envious as the Ku Klux Klan.
Oh, wow.
Just, and if you put it in the context of the movie, her case worker would just always come in and look around and see anything new that's there. And of course, James Earl Jones was her developing love interest. Right. He was a garbage man. So he would bring stuff to the house and, some of it didn't work. And she just had to put it in the closet because
that was just that's the scene is where he's hiding in the closet.
Yes, and that's when she said, he brought me this. It doesn't even work. But yeah, and it dealt with, and especially these performers that weren't in these type of roles, so to say, it still wasn't an exploitation movie. It was a black cinema movie, classy movie, but dealt with some very real situations that affect those who need assistance to this day, and
was that Diane Carroll? Who was the lead?
Yes, Diane Carroll was the lead. Yes.
Wow.
You had Cochise from Welcome Back
from the Warriors. Yeah.
He was the oldest son.
Yeah.
The young lady, I think she's the daughter of an acting married acting couple, but she has a very unique name. But the one that when Shirley was on Good Times trying to be a thief, she was her sidekick. And Shirley kept hitting her because she kept messing up and telling too much information.
Right.
This was after James was gone, so they were trying to find direction when Moses Gunn was, etc. And Penny became more prominent, during those years too. But one of those episodes, the daughter that's in that, the daughter of the movies, there, and the way the songs fit into the movie's theme. Now, some of these songs he covered earlier. Some of them he covered much later. But there's one particular song, a couple of particular songs that were unique to this soundtrack. So after Mr. Welfare Man, You Have to Be Invisible. That was talking of, now he covered that. So he pretty much released that around the same time because that was on his Sweet Exorcist album. His version was on the Sweet Exorcist album. And the way it fit in was one of the children, he kind of was very reclusive. He didn't think he fit in. He didn't think he mattered. So the song To Be Invisible would be almost a play on the Invisible Man. And it was his spotlight because he would be off drawing and things like that. He didn't feel like, so many kids there. He didn't feel like he was getting any special attention because he was just part of a pack. And there was nothing he felt it was special enough to have.
So there was no dialogue underneath it. It was just there's clips or montage scene with this music playing underneath it, is what you're saying?
Well, he makes, he talks, and then I think he's under the table or something like that.
Okay.
It's been a while since I watched it. So
Right.
he speaks his mind about how he feels, and then that song comes on perfectly in alignment with that portion of the movie.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, he on and on, right?
Oh,
right.
That was the jam. That was the groove. Yeah. That was the house party scene, house party music. Curtis Mayfield did not do a version that I know of until like one of his last albums. In fact, he did Mr. Welfare on a later album too, when he was signed to Ichiban in Atlanta right before his accident. So, and then you have The Makings of You, the love theme. Curtis did that on his first solo album. However, he changed the lyrics up to relate to the actual movie. So Gladys Knight says, "It's been a miracle for what you have done. Please stay beside me. Two can become one." That's not in Curtis Mayfield's version. But he wrote that, he changed that lyric to apply to the actual movie as their relationship kept blooming. They of course moved toward, you will take the consequences because we love each other. I love your kids. I'll take on any burden I have to take on to get Mr. Welfare off your back. So that was side one. Then there's an instrumental called Claudine's Theme. And then there's a portion where they had become separated, not necessarily because of the welfare caseworker, but they had a break in their relationship, because he was dealing with previous relationships with other kids. And he's saying, I barely see my kids. How I'm going to take on 5 more? And it was that point where you didn't think they were going to make it. So it was a song called Hold On, Gladys singing how Gladys sings. So you felt that whole energy while that portion played. And then the closer, and this is one that Curtis Mayfield, to my knowledge, never went in the studio, recorded for himself, or at least he never released a version, which was one of my favorite songs, period, in his catalog. Make Yours a Happy Home. That's the exit where they actually went and got married. They got a justice of the peace. And even the older kids who act like they didn't really want her to be involved, they participated. And the son was like a revolutionary, and he was on the run literally from the police. So he wasn't at the wedding originally. He bust in there and he tried to blend in the wedding, and then the cops, it's like in a building, and the cops come in, and then they said, we're all going out, we're all going down together. As even the kids, like the toddlers, they all were in the paddy wagon, and they start playing this song, not from the beginning, because the beginning is like an instrument. It's like when Gladys Knight goes, yeah, I can't sing. And it goes into that portion, and that's how the movie ends. And then one of the kids, he wasn't in the paddy wagon, but he was like, we all going down together. So he's running, and they grab him, put him in the paddy wagon, and it was such a joyous finale in that song. You don't have to be for me. Right. No superstar. I love you just the way you are. Make Yours a Happy Home. Just a beautiful lyric. I love seeing Gladys Knight doing Curtis Mayfield tributes in the 90s, where she would bring that song into play, and just a great soundtrack. Just a great soundtrack. And I think
he did that. That was the same year as Sweet Exorcist. I think didn't you mention it too? It was like 74.
Yes, because he had To Be Invisible on his album. The title cut, Sweet Exorcist, that's one of my favorite Curtis Mayfield songs as well. Now, later on in the decade, he reached out, or the Queen of Soul actually reached out and did this, the classic Sparkle. Of course, you have High Jump, Look Into Your Heart, which Whitney Houston remade, giving him something he could feel.
Yeah.
That was later covered by In Vogue at a major level. So he arranged this with a guy named Rich Tofu.
That's Curtis too?
Yes. He wrote this entire soundtrack, wrote and produced it.
Wow. Yeah. What's the name of the movie?
Sparkle.
What is that about?
It's a family. They actually remade it with was Brandy in the remake? Somebody was in the remake. Can't remember, but you had a mother Mary Alice. Wasn't Mary Alice the mother on there?
Okay.
That was later on Beat Street. That was on the Cosby Show, etc.
Yeah, on Different World, everything. Yeah,
Yes. And you had Philip Thomas. Phyllis Michael Thomas was in there. Irene Cara.
What? Tubbs was in there.
Yes.
Hey, did Mariah Carey do Sparkle? No, that was Glimmer. Okay,
Glitter. Yeah.
Glitter, man. That's the.
Don't do it to her. Don't do it to her. Come on. We had to pull her back out.
Hey,
he was. Oh my God.
When we do the worst movies of all time,
that's what.
That's gonna be hard to beat right there.
Oh, it wasn't. It wasn't terrible. It just.
And to be honest, what was the movie that?
Was expecting?
Man, dude.
And of course, now, and that's a movie I haven't seen in a while. One of the main characters is Irene Cara. They call it, I think she was called Sissy in there or something like that.
Okay.
And you had Lynette McKee, who I know famously from Which Way Is Up.
Right, yeah.
Which, by the way, doesn't have a full soundtrack. Stargard did just the theme song, Which Way Is Up, which they did.
Man, there's a lot of tunes on here, man, that hit pretty, that were remade later.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
I did not know that Curtis wrote this stuff.
Oh yes.
That's crazy.
He wrote another album for her too. I think it was an Almighty Fire album. Was written and produced by Curtis Mayfield as well, right around the same time, I should say. So it just wasn't a one-off thing with him and Aretha Franklin.
Wow.
Yeah, Something He Can Feel was #1 R&B.
Mm-hmm.
28 Billboard Top 100.
Talking about the remake, right?
No, well, let me see here. No, it says Aretha's version was #1 R&B.
Okay. I didn't see. I thought it was one of those album cuts. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
It was nominated for Best R&B Vocal, female grant for Grammy Award, and the album itself was a top 20 Billboard main album, so it did quite well. 500,000 copies.
Mm-hmm. Not a bad royalty check for that.
That's not bad at all. That's not bad at all especially for a soundtrack, man.
And as far as his solo, well, even with the impressions, of course, the famous song "Amen" came from Lilies in the Field. It's predated, but 70s cinema.
Really?
Written by what's his name, Jester. He was on the old man on Amen. Pretty much.
Oh yeah.
He just took one word and just changed, made it a melodically catchy song. When one person stars on it, everybody else knows how to finish it.
All right, let's close out Curtis with the masterpiece, man. In my opinion, man, come on, man.
That's the one.
This man, come on, man.
Look at Lamar, bro, all the way across slowly.
And the unique gatefold.
This man, I have spent
and things like that.
I spent so many hours, man, with this soundtrack.
It's been covered so many times. I just heard the Delmar organ trio, bruh. They did a couple of tracks off of that.
Okay,
dude, super.
let's run it from the beginning.
Let's run it, man. This is
run it.
We can. This is hard to beat, man. In my opinion,
Little Child running wild.
Woo!
Master Henry Gibson and whoever his organ player was. I forgot who his organ player. That intro,
man.
But
come
the
on.
climax of the song where it says, "Don't care not what nobody says. I got to take the pain away. It's getting worse day by day.
Yes.
And all my life has been this way. Can't reason with the pusher man. Finance is all that he understands. Now I get confused. Let my junkie mama crash. He says something about his mother would rip her, but I love her so.
Oh wow.
Love her so.
This whole. I mean, the way that he arranged.
Yeah.
Shout out to Johnny Pate.
Parts. The instrumentation, the sound. I mean, this is just absolute genius, man.
Yeah.
Yes. Then there was the next song. I'm your mama. I'm your daddy. I'm that in the alley.
I'm your man.
Got some coke and some weed. That's another example of him creating a soundtrack for something that he never represented in his music, right. And hopefully not in his life. But and I heard there was some pushback. He was like, "I'm not writing a drug dealer album. I have to put these messages in it that talk about the other side," and that's what the Little Child Running Wild very adequately did. And the ultimate, my favorite from this soundtrack.
I know what it is.
Okay, but there's another one though, man. There's another one that goes.
I thought about that.
That was another one covered in the '80s by Fishbone.
Of course.
And they had a big hit with it too.
Their version is killing too, man.
Yeah.
They put the little ska thing in there.
Yeah.
But the tune, man.
Okay.
We all know what the tune is.
Okay, we'll see. I already know. So the side one ends with an instrumental called Junkie Chase.
Right.
Super funky. It's black cinema perfection.
That's the one with the hi-hat.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Brassy and that sax solo in there is crazy. Master Henry Gibson back on those percussion.
Yeah.
Side two. You always got to put a love theme.
Let's get to the bathtub scene, brother.
Yes, I think it's on it's right here.
Get to the bathtub scene. Let's get to the
Give me your love.
Man, come on. That man, the way he takes the I call it a black samba, right? Because he changed it's man, the way that to me is just I probably listened to that song
so many layers.
as much as anything I've ever listened to in my life, man. That tune is the hypnotic. It's got the funk, the Latin thing, man. The lyrics.
We can't discount how influential of a guitar player he was.
Absolutely. He talked about that, man, in this interview because he called it Spanish tuning, which is just an open. It's an open G, maybe. I can't remember. I don't know exactly what the tuning is, but he called it a Spanish tuning, and he sort of was the only, especially cat in art that was doing soul music that was tuning his guitar that way. So people would be trying to figure his stuff out, and he was hard because they didn't know. They just figured he was in standard tuning, but he never was. He was in this.
Songs like "You Must Believe Me" with the good blown on, you must believe. Man, I worked at a job around '94 with a guy named Pickle Juice. He drank a lot, he smoked a lot, so he was called Pickle Juice because he thought if he drank a little bit of pickle juice, it'll thin his blood in his urine so that they wouldn't detect all the stuff that was in his.
Wow.
And he was a big jazz head.
You might be giving away some secrets, bro.
That's what they tell you. So
the original golden seal.
I had some muscle cramps right there.
Right.
So that outstanding song, of course, it was sampled later on Mary J. Blige's. I believe that was on My Life album.
Okay, what's next?
We got Eddie. You Should Know Better.
Yeah.
We'll just talk about the other side of it.
Right.
All the things that he was doing, absolutely the wrong decisions being made.
Right.
Then there's a song, and this is an example of him saying, I have to put some positive message. No thing on me. It's talking about overcoming obstacles, including addiction. But, so he put a positive spin on, even, when he was talking about some of the negative stuff, Eddie, you should know better. And when he said Freddie's dead, it's hard to understand that was love in this man, but he got so strung out, he just got so caught up in the game. Sadly, that had to be his demise. And after No Thing to Me on Me, you have an instrumental called Think. Very reflective, exactly, just that mental track, and I believe the Isley Brothers covered it in the 90s.
Right.
there was a situation, I'll make this quick, with the Isley Brothers. They had that song, This Old Heart of Mine. Big hit.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Such a big hit and influenced a lot of people when they were songwriting, including Curtis Mayfield. Curtis Mayfield wrote a song with the Impressions called Can't Satisfy. Unfortunately, the lyrics are different, but the harmony and the chords and everything were too close. And they had to give the Isley Brothers, he had to give the Isley Brothers credit. I believe Ron Isley was talking about it before when he released the album that has the Think cover on it. So to say that it's no hard feelings, and Think, even though the Isley Brothers did a whole lot of covers, they intentionally covered pop songs, mainly white pop artists. They had some exceptions with Bill Withers, etc., but they was covering Love the One You With. They were covering Love the One You With by Stephen Stills. Still That Wine, even though War was a predominantly African-American band, they had Eric Burden at the time, and that was his vocal tape.
What was it? Didn't War do a sound? Wasn't there a soundtrack that they did?
They did. Youngblood. I have that on CD. Yeah. And unofficially, there was a movie with Cicely Tyson, Priest on Cooley High. That was on Different World too.
Clifton.
No. He was married to Aretha Franklin, as a matter of fact, in the 80s.
Oh, you talking about we just watched Cooley High.
I can't brain free.
I know, man. We just freaking watched it, man.
But Priest in there, he was in this movie called The River, and James Earl Jones. It was called The River Niger. Not a big commercial success. They never remastered it. Around the time they were putting some of these movies on DVD, the ones that they couldn't find like a good enough version to remaster, they were putting these non-movies.
Glenn Thurman.
Yes. So War did an album called Platinum Jazz, which was a bunch of instrumentals, and some of the songs that they put, it was some that were already like City Country City.
Yeah.
They put the songs like that, a shorter version of it, but they put some new songs on there too. It was a double album.
Hey, City Country City is this tune that when I met this cat that he was playing.
Wow, really?
Yeah.
that one, man.
Yeah.
That, from the World is a Ghetto album, which is an opus.
Wait, so before you move on with that album, what would you say is the most iconic song off of that album? Superfly. Is it the Pusha or
like that rotates?
Little Pusha Man, probably.
Pusha Man, definitely, but of course, Freddie's Dead. When you had to pick, perfect soundtrack, what do you
think is the biggest one off of that?
Oh, chart wise,
yeah,
I think it's Pusha Man.
Yeah,
it is.
I would say that Freddie's Dead is yeah. But Pusha Man is just like doom doom. It's just so iconic.
Yeah. But,
okay, I just have to know that for myself. We'll see what y'all.
But I know this album sold upwards by now probably about 10 million copies.
Right.
And then we forgot the title cut, Superfly.
Of course.
Oh yeah, Superfly too is big.
Another movie, man, that did not. I mean, it's a funny watch. That's all I can say. It's pretty bad. It's that's not very good.
Since we're transitioning, now he also did a prison movie soundtrack called Short Eyes. I had a clean copy of that album.
Yeah, wow.
Freddie Finn was in there, and subject matter. If you know what that means, I'll just leave it at that. You'll have to Google it. I don't want to talk about it, but speaking about Superfly, there was a disastrous sequel called Superfly TNT. The soundtrack of this was done by Osabisa, the Afrobeat band out of Ghana. They formed in London, I believe, but a lot of them, it was some people out of Ghana, some people out of Kenya, some people out from the islands, Great.
They had the nerve to do a sequel, bro.
And
with Ron O'Neal.
They waited till, I believe this was 70. No, actually, this came out the year after, in 73.
Had to strike, man. Had to strike when the iron was hot.
That's hilarious. That's hilarious.
Yeah, it got cold real quick on that one.
All right, what else we got now?
All right, so
curious.
Going back to someone who did multiple soundtracks to an outstanding effect.
I know where you're going.
My favorite ones of all
time. Great record, man.
I Choose You.
Oh yeah.
Great record, man.
Wow. The whole context of that is different when you watch the movie. A few soundtrack songs are like that, and I hope to get to one in particular too. A lot of instrumentals, a lot of grooves. Willie Hutchins had that, I call it a bubbling funk to his grooves. That the bongos, and then it's like a
right.
Slick is a perfect example of it. That got some play on Soul Train. They did some Soul Train lines to Slick, Mother's Theme, Max Stroll. But I gotta go to the last song. I was just talking to my sons about this. Brothers Gonna Work It Out.
Oh yeah.
So Roger Mosley was playing Goldie, which is the main character. He was playing his brother, and he was the polar opposite. While Goldie was macking, Roger, his brother, was a community activist. In fact, he wore a kufi, a red, black, and green kufi the whole movie. So Brothers Gonna Work It Out starts with a dialogue from the movie dealing with the tension, saying, you can't do one without doing the other. You got to come both of these things at the same time, man. That dialogue was sampled by a lot of rappers in the 80s and 90s. It just was a slick way that the interaction. And then that classic Willie Hutch sound comes in. The message of it is not too dissimilar from Curtis Mayfield. We're not just going to be talking about the Mac part of it, the underworld part of it. We're talking about, in spite of the differences, these brothers going to work it out. But at the end, he adds the powerful, stop the pimps, the hustlers, the pusher man, as fast as you can. Open your ears and your eyes to the facts of what's truly holding you back. And it goes into this groove to this day. I can, with digital technology, I loop it because it sounds just so perfect with him singing this little nice little harmony vocal on there, and it just ends it off with this powerful cut. Now, he also did another movie.
Wait, don't pull it out yet.
Okay.
If this is the album I think you're gonna bring out,
it probably is the way you just stopped.
Yes. Is this person is an iconic person for young men everywhere? Is this person is what we're talking about?
Some of our first non-nursing
well, that's the best way I ever heard it put, bro. Oh, don't show it, Chris. Chris, don't show. Oh, but that's not the one, though.
But that's the Roy Ayers. Roy Ayers did.
But the person you're talking about.
Yes.
The person you're talking about.
Yes.
Lamar, were you going to go there? Go ahead.
The iconic cover pose. Because not only was she appeasing to
dude, that album cover, bro.
She was an absolutely beautiful woman.
That album cover, man.
Foxy Brown.
Afro, homie.
Reggae artists have named themselves after Foxy Brown. Hip hop artists have named themselves after Foxy Brown.
Right.
And the legendary Willie Hutch did this score. This was a hard one to find. Even when I tried to find a CD, it was like $40. Right. But I caught this on a great sale. It's like $9.99.
But that album cover, dude, what's that one worth? Because you don't see that one very often. That with that album, I see the other one with the movie cover with the
right.
movie.
And I mean, you would mainly see this. You definitely want to see this in like a mainstream stores, how they were selling posters. This would be probably the ones that were geared toward us, because this just captures her beauty without the sexuality.
Yes.
Right. Her trailer posters were notorious. Women in chains. By accentuating the positive.
Yes.
So this has that classic Willie Hutch sound. A lot of samples on here. Great groove. Those Motown horns are here. Plas Johnson, Oscar Sure. A few people out there don't recognize their names. Fred Jackson Jr. Got a guy named William Green on the baritone sax.
Oh, wow.
Ernie Watts on the flute.
Oh, Ernie Watts is cold. Usually a saxophone player, but Ernie Watts was cold.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And you have the Waters family. Now you have Maxine Waters Williard and Julia Waters Tillman. Now, if you pull out any albums from the 70s, if you get like, you count your albums by 10 in certain 70, when you have them already pulled out the 70s records, they're on at least one out of every 10 records.
Wow.
That were released in the United States. Fusion jazz. Well, I'll say any records that have vocals on. They would probably did sessions with Barbara Streisand. They're still around. They actually in 75, I believe, they start putting out their own projects too. They actually, their first album was on Blue Note. Very good album too. But the two sisters there, it's two sisters and two brothers. I think one of the brothers is retired by now, but they're still active in the industry. Excuse me. Sorry about that.
That's all right.
So great soundtrack album. And of course, in the 80s, he made a soundtrack appearance and had a hit with the song Glow on the Last
Dragon.
Yeah, shout out to Bruce Leroy.
Wow. Show enough.
It's time to glow.
Was Vanity in that movie too?
Yes.
Yeah.
The other one, man. Vanity and Pam Grier.
Yes. So
Car Wash. Here we go.
Oh man, you just jumping the gun. Man.
I got so many bullets, man.
You just jumping the gun on this, man.
All right, who did the soundtrack to Car Wash?
So,
bro, come on now. Come on. So, don't say it. Don't say it yet. Okay, so we're gonna put this out, and no Googling. The person that wrote the soundtrack to Car Wash, I will give you a hint. He also wrote I Heard It Through the Grapevine.
Smokey Robinson?
Nope. I thought you would know this, man. Take your
You don't have to take it back.
Take your New Orleans card away, bro. You're supposed to know this.
Prominently.
Hold on. Don't get that. Don't no. That's
Wait, okay.
I heard it through the grape. That's all you need. I know Brad looking it up. So
I thought that was
he wrote a pile of hits, dude.
So you saying New
Orleans? No, I was just messing. He was
okay.
He kind of looked like your dad though.
Yeah,
nope.
Yeah.
Marvin.
Your dad looks like you. Yeah.
Oh,
y'all might be kin, man.
You got to put an afro on.
Had the same little wavy hair and all that, man.
Who is it?
Norman Whitfield.
Oh yeah.
I mean, he wrote a pile of hits, bro.
Oh yeah.
Him and Smokey, man. And Smokey were like, I was like, man,
I thought Smokey wrote that.
No, but it's close though, because Smokey wrote a pile of hits too, man.
Wow, look at
that. An outstanding gatefold.
This album, man, my parents took me to see this movie when it came to. I had cool parents, bro. What can I tell you?
Yeah,
this movie is another thing that's just like embedded in my my brain. The music also, which is Rolls Royce, which
that part right there, bro.
Man, there's so many. I mean, super funny, iconic moments in that.
Yeah, movie. Daddy Rich.
Yes, Daddy Rich. I mean, the two Latino cats, man, that were always at each other's throats, man, and the cat put the hot peppers in his tamale, man. It just that movie was really, really, really well. Yeah. Bill Duke.
Yeah.
Abdullah.
Yes,
I mean,
he was really
George
Carlin, with the prostitute. He was a cab driver, wasn't he? Remember, he was going looking around. That chick ran out on his on the fair.
Right.
He is right there in the striped shirt.
Yeah, Pointer Sisters. I mean, man, that is so man.
Cleo something. I can't think of the chick's name.
One with the blonde wig.
Yes, the one with the blonde wig.
Oh yeah.
That was the chick that she was the prostitute.
Yeah, she ran out to the bathroom and yeah.
ran out on George Carlin on the ferry. He kept looking for her, couldn't find her. He's like, anybody seen a blonde black girl walking? Man, he's so funny, man.
George
Carlin. And the comedic legend, who master of Afro wigs. I'll try to
yes. Who's after the chick, the waitress? He's after the waitress. The light skin. Yes. What's my man's name?
Frankie Ajah or something like that.
Yeah, that sounds right.
Yeah. I can't think of, because he had albums out too, comedy albums.
As Chris is Googling right
my
now.
boys who people used to say I look like back in the day. Antonio Fargas.
Platform shoes. What's his name?
Antonio Fargas, right?
Yeah, Antonio Fargas.
Frankie. Yep, Frankie. Yep. He played the transvestite. Antonio Fargas in that movie in Car Wash. Yep.
Yeah, he had the
cross dress.
Right, the wrap on and stuff, right?
Yes. Well done movie though, man. I mean, the movie still to me holds up. Like if you watch it, it's really, really. It actually did really well. It did.
Funk tracks,
14 million at the box office.
That's very respectable.
It's a good movie, man.
I Want to Get Next to You.
Oh man, come on! I'm going down. I'm going down, man. Who did Mary J? Did Mary J did that? Did Mary J did it? She did a great version of that, man.
I hated how she kept saying I'm going down. That messed it up for me.
Yeah.
She kept repeating I'm going down. Some serious grooves. Water. Put your money where your mouth is.
Put your money where your mouth is, yeah.
And what's the one with the killing bass that boom ba doo 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 doo. What is that?
That's what put your money.
That's the one is put your money. Yeah.
And there's a song that inside one. It's a double album. It's called Zigzag.
Okay.
I think it very. It was probably a lot of people didn't get, but for me, it's got the bump 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 bump. A lot of rappers have sound
right.
Bump 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 bump. Those horns were crazy, but the groove zigzag. You know,
that's a good one, man.
I love
it. Is that the one you're talking about?
It's no, it's the doom 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 doom, and then they start zigzag, zigzag.
That's the one I'm thinking of. Yeah, that's the one.
And then it goes into it changes the groove a little bit.
Right, it's real syncopated. Right.
Yeah, and then the climax, man. Serious.
Oh man, Norman Whitfield, man, no joke. Norman Whitfield.
Yes, a lot of undisputed truth. I mean, their whole career was guided by Norman Whitfield, even after he left. Okay. All right. There's a series that doesn't include the same person. However, it includes a person that I want to spotlight. Not just on this episode, but overall. Okay. So let's start it with the trilogy.
Uh-oh. Oh, I know where you're going. Man.
First starting with his first entry in the soundtrack.
Okay. All right. So 4 weeks before, because this is going to end it. We can't go any further. We had some but
that's the one
I got some other.
I know, but
this is the one I started with. So you got to.
This is the original, isn't this? This is 71. Isn't this the original? This is the original, like soundtrack that everybody was trying to copy.
Love Orchestra, Unlimited, whatever it was, all that in there. Yeah.
Well, his backing, he had the Memphis Orchestra Symphony,
Memphis
and the Barcade, the remaining members of the Barcade.
Yeah.
And then he started formulating his group, Hot Buttered Soul. But his arranger, besides himself, because he mainly was a instrumental, he wasn't writing lyrics for himself a lot. Mm-hmm. You know, with Sam and Dave, the songs were written by him and David Porter. He was writing the music while David Porter was the lyrics. You got Jay.
Have you watched the Stax documentary?
I still need to get it. I still need to get to it before I go back to school.
Okay.
Memphis Horns and Strings were on this particular version. I believe this is a German pressing. It was gifted to me actually. So it's kind of a more shiny or slicker cover double album. And the song Do Your Thing is already 18 minutes on this album. They put out a full take of Do Your Thing. It's almost an hour long of them just yeah. They a record label called Now Again Records. That was just a portion of an extended take. I mean, they had to split it on two sides. But yeah, those Isaac Hayes Movement, Barcades, man, he had a serious band. You got, of course, your title cut is the hit. Bumpy's Lament. That was sped up by another group. They covered it, and then that became something that was sampled a lot in hip hop. Yeah. The love theme here is Ellie's love theme. No Name Bar. You talk about a funk groove, boom, 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 boom. But then he brings that brass in.
Lamar, my dad had it on 8-track.
Oh.
It was blue. It was electric blue. Everything else, my dad had 2 that had colors. One was blue, that was the shaft. The other one, I believe, was War, which was red. Everything else was just like black 8-tracks. And I remember I grabbed that. We weren't allowed to touch my dad's stereo. I had to put that shaft in there, bro.
Yeah.
And the tape started coming out of it. I was like, oh!
No. I never trusted the 8-track. That's why I never bought anything on 8-track.
Man, I stuffed that thing back in there. My dad, he came back. I think it was like 2 years later he discovered it was something wrong with this thing, man. I was like, oh snap. I forgot about that.
When last time I played that, 2 years?
8-track was hard living, man. 8-track.
Yeah.
Because remember, it had like 4 channels on it.
Yeah, and they weren't aligned to the end of the song.
No, so you couldn't even get to songs.
No.
Yeah.
You had to listen. You had to listen to
and it had the one little thing to turn. Like if the tape that you couldn't turn that with anything.
Oh wow.
All right, so multi-million selling record. But they didn't finish with the Shaft series, which was a Gordon Park creation. They went next to
Shaft Africa.
Shaft's Big Score.
Big Score, right? Big Score.
So this was actually handled by Gordon Parks. He's, along with being a phenomenal photographer, phenomenal author, he was also a songwriter as well.
So Isaac Hayes didn't do that one.
No.
Wow.
And this one had a vocal by O.C. Wright. I think more famous for his version of Little Green Apples.
Okay.
I think that's a Jerry Fuller composition. So he did the title a lot of instrumental pieces on Shaft's Big Score. But the final version of the trilogy, this was done by Johnny Pate, who was
Shaft in Africa.
Curtis Mayfield's former arranger. Yeah, very interesting movie.
That's not very good, man.
It has a lot of Pam Grier-like things, but not with Pam Grier. So
right, not very good.
That's all I can tell you. What I remember from
coffee, it was tea, right?
It's like they went a little bit too far.
But this soundtrack is incredible. The big hit here was "Are You Man Enough" by the Four Tops.
Okay.
But the song "Shaft in Africa," hard groove. Breakers used to use this record.
Really?
Early rappers use this record. It's been sampled. It was sampled by Jay-Z, and when he made that comeback with what's that? Show 'em What You Got.
Yeah.
That comes from Shaft in Africa.
Oh,
a lot of people sample just that one song. There's a certain producer that recently deceased. This was his go-to soundtrack. He sampled quite a bit of it. Now, Isaac Hayes, along with, going back to Isaac Hayes, he did 2 soundtracks around 74, 75.
Okay.
The first one, Tough Guys.
Tough Guys. Who was in Tough Guys?
That's another movie I haven't seen. Hard to find that one. But he definitely was one of the stars. Let me look at these credits. Oh, you got Fred Williamson.
Fred, I was about to say Fred. Yeah, I knew it was Fred.
You talk about black cinema in the 70s.
Yeah.
I don't know who that is. The female, I guess she's a part of the movie, like a performer or something like that. Okay. Need to find a copy of that movie to see the context. No, that's Isaac Hayes. This particular guy, I don't know who that is. He's one of the tough guys too. So Fred Williamson, Isaac Hayes, and that gentleman I just showed you. They're the three tough guys. This is famously, a lot of people know this, another hip hop sample. The Ghetto Boys, My Mind's Playing Tricks on Me.
Oh yeah.
The middle portion of that is from a song called Hung Up on My Baby off of this soundtrack.
Okay.
Which is their opus. Now this movie, 74, he was the star. A lot of people have seen YouTube videos where Uhuru has certain quotes in this movie because he played a madam. But he was
Truck Turner. Oh,
double LP. So he was very
your dad had all this stuff, man. Your dad had all this stuff.
Yes.
Uncompromising brother.
Yep.
He was the Black Dirty Harry, man.
He sure was.
Black Dirty Harry.
Some great instrumentals on here. He has a song, a slow jam called You're in My Arms Again, but what is that? I'm not seeing it on here. There was another slow jam he had on it that I really love. I can't think of the title now. We Need Each Other, Girl. That's it. Okay. But the 9-minute groove that a lot of people love on this is called Pursuit of the Pimp Mobile. And they have some interesting YouTube. Well, the segment from the movie is what that title says. They're going to the Pimp Mobile. You had of course, I forgot what her name is that played Lieutenant Uhuru on Star Trek.
Yeah.
You're talking about
she just passed away because her son. Her son was in The Learning Tree, which was a Gordon Parks, which is one of my favorite movies. And
what's her name?
I'll look up.
Look it up. It's Lynette something. Look,
I'm surprised no Trekkies
Nichelle Nicole Nichols. Thanks, Brad.
Nichelle Nichols. There it is.
Thanks, Brad. Appreciate it.
So she started in as a madam, and she talked to her understudies quite graphically. It was such a difference when we were used to seeing her on Star Trek. To see those segments. I like that movie. It was a great movie to me. When you talk about 70s cinema, just the fact that he did a double album soundtrack and he was the star of the movie and he did the same thing with Tough Guys. So I'll say out of the black cinema soundtrack / actors, he has to have a special honor for being able to be a master at both of them.
At both, man. At both. All right, let's do this, man. Let's do one more.
Cotton Comes to Harlem.
Of course. But I want to do one more.
Why you tell me? I'll just show some other ones.
All right. Hold on, because you might pull it. Because I think you already pulled it.
Well, I'm going to keep going.
So this is...
Amazingly, this is a soundtrack. Mr. Mean by the Ohio Players.
Oh, really? Ohio Players?
Yeah. That was a hard movie to find.
Let's pull the 1979 masterpiece that's right behind me.
Click
and talk about the significance of this, man.
Oh my!
The Warriors.
Can you dig it? Can you dig it?
Can you dig it?
You dig it?
That's right,
man. You got to go back and this is.
Sorry for the gloss, but I still have my.
So the great thing about this movie is that the soundtrack follows the scenes in the movie. So the songs are all sort of parallel with what's going on as they're trying to get back to Coney Island because
they're on the
they're
run,
trapped on the other side of New York City. So
they're trying
to get back. So the music really sets up, man. And there's a female who is the DJ that sort of gives these segues.
Where in the world is Carmen Santiago, the woman that was on that show? She was the DJ.
Yeah.
But they would just show her just her face and like the dog.
All you could see was the microphone and basically like her lips. And man, it's just a brilliant movie. It's a brilliant.
Yeah.
I think the greatest sort of, B, whatever you want to call it. You want to call it a B movie. You want to call it a
cult classic.
Absolute cult classic. That is whenever it's on. I mean, I own a couple of different copies of it, but the music is interesting, man, because the big song from that was the Joe Walsh tune, right, In the City. But all the other little stuff. So I was actually, man, because I was like, man, when you said you had the sound, I was like, dang, man. I said, I'm trying to think of the other artists that were on this record.
Okay, so you had Joe Walsh, who appeared courtesy of Elektra Records. I'm gonna butcher her name. Genya Ravan, Ravan. Now I know her from, and if I'm remembering correctly, she was in one of those groups like Chicago, a horn rock band called
was that like a
10-Wheel Drive? It was a group called 10-Wheel Drive. And and I want to say she has an alias. She recorded an alias too. Desmond Child. I cannot remember where I'm.
Desmond Child wrote he wrote a ton of
songwriting credits.
All of that stuff with like Bon Jovi and all of those those 90s. He wrote Livin' La Vida Loca. What? Desmond Child. He's a
wow
icon in the pop music world.
Yeah.
And he's one of those guys that used to when an artist was struggling, they would come to him and he would co-write. He got, man, if you look him up, 20 number one hits. Easily 20 number one hits. Easily.
You had Latin artist Ishmael Miranda on Find Your Records. I have a few of his albums too. And lastly, Mandrill played what's the song they did on
Mandrill's on there? I didn't know that.
Yes. So they appeared courtesy of Arista Records. The album came out on A&M Records. It was produced by Barry Dvorak, who did a lot of soundtrack work. Nadia's Theme was one of his big ones, but he, very prolific soundtrack writer and produced by a guy named Kenny Vance.
Okay. You muted, Tyrone.
So the Warriors it's one of those VHS tapes that circulated around in the 80s, 90s, a lot of quotes, a lot of cultural events. A guy whose name shall be unmentioned had a infamous segment at the beginning of a popular video where he clicked two bottles together and said, the original dialogue says, "Warriors
come out to play."
That's right. Because this was a rival gang, and the Warriors are trying to go through all these gang territories to get home safely.
Right.
And they, the guy, of course, it's always the pipsqueak, just like in Cooley High.
Right.
Wouldn't have even went down if it wasn't for that. Get him, so always a little chump. That guy have the. He was in a lot of movies.
He's the same dude that's in 48 Hours.
Okay.
That when Eddie Murphy gets Nick Nolte gets Eddie Murphy out of jail to go look for the money. The white cat that they're chasing, that's the same dude that was in the Warriors.
Okay. It's amazing when you go back to some of the old.
I forget his name. He was in Malcolm X. He was in a bunch of different movies, man.
Yeah.
They were what? The Warriors are from like Coney Island. He was trying to
Coney Island.
Yeah.
Man, I'm telling you gotta watch it tonight, man. You gotta watch it. You remember when Shaq, when they won the I can't remember, and he got up there and went, "Can you dig it?" That's from the Warriors.
It was that it's coming back to me now. It looked like it was an Indian dude or something with No, maybe a Spanish dude.
That's Cochise. Yeah, that's who he was talking about earlier. He was a black cat.
That's it.
With the head yeah, he had all the feathers and stuff on.
Cochise,
iconic movie, man. James Remar's in that movie. The great actor James
I vaguely
Remar.
remember it now. It's coming back to me, but yeah.
Classic movie. And in fact, it had become so popular in the mainstream level, they actually PlayStation 2 released a Warriors video game.
What?
That's right.
And I think it's pretty hard to get too.
That's right, man. I remember that.
This had to be around like 97.
Yeah, like 90. Yeah, like man, I wish I would have grabbed that.
Yeah,
man.
Yeah.
It was like for PlayStation 1 or something like that.
PlayStation 2. It was PlayStation 2. Yeah. It might have actually been in the 2000s now that I think about it, that game. Because the PlayStation 2 came out in 99, I believe. So yeah, it was actually in the 2000s that it did it. They did it because I remember they had an ad for it in Source magazine, and they also did a Scarface.
Lamar,
I could never figure this. I tried to play the Scarf. I could never figure it out, man.
I never had
Scarface. Did you try that? I could never figure that out.
Lamar, we had something from a viewer here. He said, "Here's an album Herbie Hancock did that you wouldn't think he would do. Herbie Hancock, Fat Albert Rotunda, 1969, from Bill Cosby's animated film A Fat Albert of 1969 before the series."
So before the series.
Yeah, so when his contract with Columbia ended, he went to Warner Brothers and he did that album, he did Crossings, and then he did the one of his Swahili name.
Right.
I think it was
Mandishi. Yeah.
Right. So that was part of that, his transition, his temporary. No, wait a minute. I'm tripping. He hadn't even gotten to Columbia yet. Blue Note. So after Blue Note, he went on to Warner Brothers and did about 3 or 4 albums, and that's when he went to Columbia. But
what's the soundtrack that Herbie did? I can see it. It's a white. What's it called, man?
He did one for Bird that got him the grant.
No, this is like a Hitman. What is it? You know what I'm talking about, Lamar?
No, the Blow Up. He did the song is called The Blow Up. It's Charles. Is it Charleston Hess? Charles.
So Death, yes. So he did do one of the Death Wishes, but there's another one. Hang on, you're gonna know it when I pull it up.
Are you looking for that?
Blow Up? No. Death Wish?
He said Death Wish.
He said Death Wish.
Now he was given credit for this. Was not a really official soundtrack. This is one where they didn't have an official soundtrack, but he actually had some parts that he played in it. The music, they didn't release it as an official soundtrack, but this is where it's a song that's in this movie that he later recorded. But incredible movie. If you know, you know. This came out in 1974.
Oh man, of course.
They immediately pulled the movie out of the theaters, and it didn't resurface until TV One. It would always be in a certain section, a certain video store.
What is it?
It's called The Spook Who Sat by the Door. It's a novel that was written by a gentleman out of Chicago named Sam Greenlee that they turned into a movie. And the premise of this movie is basically there's a guy that did everything the right way. He was one of the first recruits into the CIA or some equivalent government agency, and some of the other guys over there was like, he's such a sellout. He's doing everything the man asked him to do, but his whole thing was he wanted to learn everything that he could from the government so that he could go back to the community and train guerrilla warfare individuals, and so he couldn't be obvious with it. So so by the end of the movie, they start taking over all these. So of course, this message was not well received by mainstream America. So I talked to a gentleman who said, I saw it in New York, and I was going back the next week to see it again. It was gone. And it was like he said they pulled it just that fast. And but maybe it was Kathy Hughes that was a catalyst, because I do know they showed it on TV1 when they originally were starting to broadcast, and then not too long after that they finally put it out on DVD. But it would be like in these mom and pop video stores during the VHS era. It wouldn't have any type of outer coating with any animation on it. You just had to ask for it. They had it. So
man, unbelievable, man.
Well, bruh, thank you for your passion, bruh, and your knowledge and sharing it, man. I didn't know you were a movie junkie too, bro.
There's a lot of directions I go with this music stuff. Yeah, so hopefully I'll be able to cover some of those avenues. So I look so hazy, but I was literally when I was on the road all day. Glad I didn't go.
That passion, bro.
Yes.
Absolutely, man. Well, listen, if you guys, I know there's people out there that are thinking about getting record collection back, or trying to get, if you want to learn about the audiophile experience, this is the man to see. This is the man to talk to. If you want to get what kind of turntable you're looking for, if you need a receipt, I sent him something today. My sister sent me this, some dude's garage, bro. He had some gear, didn't he?
That was an audiophile garage, man.
This cat had every receiver, every turntable. It was like unbelievable. But if you guys are interested in getting back into albums, collecting, you're looking for the places to go, you're looking for the gear to buy, this is the man to see. Look him up on Facebook at Lamar Clay. Look him up on Instagram at L the Booker, and look out for future shows. We're going to be featuring various vinyl experiences, I guess you can say. So, it's great to get back into any subject that you're interested in, whether it's jazz, rock, soundtracks. This cat knows a lot of stuff, so don't be afraid to hit him up, man.
Another Pam.
Hey, what about? Oh my God, it's Sheba Baby, isn't it? Yep.
Yeah.
What about So just real quick, what about the martial arts movie soundtrack?
Oh, love
them. Now,
so I'm just curious, like what your tell us a little bit about. We're gonna close it out on that.
Okay, so I
have another question before we close it out.
Black Belt Jones, this is another example that was not an official soundtrack. Dennis Coffey did put out a 45 of the theme, which is a hugely influential song. A lot of breakers use it. It was sampled a lot. But they put that song on here, but they put a lot of dialogue from the movie. I talked to you about Enter the Dragon, and that it was.
Yes.
Now, I've been to Florida the last 2 weekends. Went for the weekend, came back, then went the next weekend. On that visit, the first visit, I went down to St. Augustine, and there was a record store down there. And, they have some of their prized pieces up top. Enter the Dragon was there. It was so high up, I couldn't even see the price. I consumed them with my phone. We couldn't even see the price. So I figured it wasn't in my budget.
It's funny that you say that, because I'm trying to think. Joe Budden podcast.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
He said just yesterday, he's like, you know what we need? A Show Enough prequel. We need to see why Show Enough became the person he is. He's like,
they're trying to get Dion Cole to do it.
That would be great.
He would be perfect. He would be perfect for it.
Show Enough.
Yeah,
my question is, who's the rapper who sampled the Godzilla thing and then he couldn't release it? That dun, dun, dun.
Pharoah Monch.
Yeah.
From that was his first single from his debut solo album. He was in this group called Organized Confusion, which is a group that was way ahead of time. Production, lyrical dexterity, just subject matter. They on a very different level. But I think
didn't they freeze that record? I mean, the Godzilla from Japan, whatever, they like froze his assets or something with that record.
All the royalties went straight.
Yeah, all the royalties went straight.
that composer.
That's right. Because they stopped the bookkeeper. They said, like, no more sales until we get out, and they pull all the records and receipts and everything.
Yeah.
And all that money that he even made off it went straight to them.
Right, because it was on an independent label, Raucous, and I want to say the single sold 1 million copies.
Dude, it was so hyped.
Yeah. I saw him do that at the Funk Jazz Cafe reunion around maybe about 2010 or something like that.
Right.
And they had the Wolfpack, those guys that Shield and all them perform where they go to different train stops.
You know Wolfpack,
Oh yeah. Ooh, acting like I'm talking to some non-musicians.
Right.
But they came in, they marched in there with them. And man, that was an incredible show. The only solemn part that night for me is that they announced Trayvon Martin verdict during the show. Wow. And it just so happened that they were doing a version of Gaming on You by Parliament. And the hook on that is people keep waiting on the change. And they ain't got sense enough to come in out of the rain. And I thought it was so poignant for that moment. Because music has often been a healing element for the riots. And after King's assassination, that great documentary they did with James Brown and just tragic moments. Songs capture
it's cathartic
pain and make us, like when they did with Candle in the Wind, when Princess Diana passed away, just the power of music and the timelessness of it as well.
Right.
All right, my man. Well, listen, you're gonna be a regular, as you know. Hey. We're trying to get another show for you to be featured on, so that's coming. But you're gonna be our guest, man, for another episode here.
Guest host.
Okay.
And we'll figure out another because I definitely, man, I got so many things that we want to do, but
DJs and musicians need to unite, bro. It's just
absolutely
too much.
Oh yes,
absolutely.
I always love when a DJ is on those New Year's Eve gigs. You know what I'm saying?
Man,
just don't let us play the last set. Please let them have it.
Man. So, all right, my brother. Well, thank you so much, Lamar.
Definitely a pleasure once again. Bro.
Hey, man, no problem. And we will see you soon, man.
Most definitely.
Sure.
All right, man. Peace. Okay.
All right, peace, everybody.
All right.
Yeah, man. That's good, man.
So much history,
Right.
So much history, and that's
is
most
going now, bro? Is it going?
Yeah, it is. It's not important. Not important.
You have music that's just given to you, and you don't know anybody on the record anymore. You don't have liner notes. You don't have like Jason Marcellus. Most people don't know he has a photographic memory, and every album he has, he knows all. He's read the liner notes and knows all of them. So but if he were starting out today, he'd have to do a lot of research to find out because it's not there. It's not, you don't have a cover art. What's that anymore?
Man,
you just go to Spotify and just search for something or Apple Music. But where's the cover art? Remember when that was important? That meant something.
That was an integral part of the experience.
Yeah. Open up that record and see on it, everything had to be. They were competing.
Well, it was and it was a complete. It was like a complete package,
Right.
So, well, man, that was a great one. I got to go back and listen to a couple of those records, man.
Yeah.
But you got to go back and watch. You got to watch the
Warriors. I have.
You're gonna be hooked, man. I'm telling you, you're gonna be hooked, man. It's gonna be something you're gonna start watching that like every week, man.
Really, I kind of vaguely remember like the gangs, right? Didn't they have like top hat gangs or something?
Different gangs. They had the mimes. You had the baseball furies. You had
the baseball. They had a chick gang too.
Yep,
right?
They had they were called
I gotta go see that.
The Lizzies.
That was an interesting time of my life because my mom and grandmother were in Worldwide Church of God, man. We just like,
oh no, that wouldn't be showing in that. No.
Right,
You wouldn't
exactly.
go. No, you want.
No, so yeah,
Woo! Church of God is hard. That's rough.
yeah, we were extremely.
We were for a while. That was rough, bro. You talk about, man. You think what we got now is long?
Oh yeah, that was a sermonette and a sermon. You had two couple of things, man.
Man, I remember just hours of just.
Yes.
I mean, oh my gosh. Just thinking of it now, man.
Brad got baptized at our house. Brad got baptized, and I remember when Brad got baptized at our house.
What?
Yes, we had the baptismal pool in our garage, and we'd fill it up. My mom would make food and sandwich. We loved it because they would make the finger sandwiches and stuff like that. And when everybody left, we like, yeah.
You get the leftovers, dude.
Right, we get the leftovers, man.
Oh man, that's so funny.
Yeah.
Well, cool, man. Well, I think we're gonna call it, man.
Good stuff, man. Good show.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. Trying to have some little fun things. Ain't a whole lot to discuss about last night. And and then what you got? You got red light tomorrow. I'm out of town. So we're gonna go up and do some 4th of July barbecuing up in Charlotte, and spend some time with the in-laws, man.
Back,
so
we got a gig on the 11th at the Distillery Mont North. Me, you, Paul Fisher.
Yeah, that next week is busy.
Yeah.
So
we got a couple of things together, don't we?
Got a lot. Yeah, we got a rehearsal with Carl. Is that next? That's not next week. That's following week, though.
No, we also have a gig at the library.
We got the gig first, right?
Wolf Creek Library, on the 13th.
Yeah. So
yeah. So we got some stuff coming up.
Got some stuff. So and we're working on some stuff for August. We have a confirmed date at Napoleon's on
August 8th.
August 8th, we have the Oregon Summit, meeting of the minds, Tyrone Jackson and Pat Bianchi. So we're going to be setting up
organ donors.
Some like that. The
organ donors.
Sponsored by Viacount. We're gonna milk all this stuff. Promark, Evans Head, everything that we got sponsored. We're gonna put all of that. Try to
Napoleon.
So Napoleon's August 8th. That's a Thursday.
Yes.
Students will get a special price. We're not sure what that price is going to be yet. But we're getting promotion and all that stuff going.
Momentarily
for that. So mark your calendars, August 8th. That's a Thursday before we head up to Nashville and do some day. I got some dates with Pat up in Nashville, but he's going to stop through here first. And so we can get a little warm up action going. And so that's not one that's going to be missed, man.
No,
so
I'm already compiling my list, bro.
One set of Mr. Jackson and one set of Mr. Bianchi. So
yes.
So that should be fun. August 8th. So we'll get all the promo and all that stuff up for that and really push that show because we need your support for that. And if you these students had bet, boy, if they don't show up, bro.
Don't get me started, bro.
Yeah, it's gonna be on, man. It's really gonna be on. Because this is one that's, in their backyard. You don't get this kind of stuff very often.
Nope.
And it's really your debut as in terms of what the next phase of what you're trying to do. So very important night, August 8th. Mark it down, mark your calendars. Yep. Napoleon's 8 p.m. I believe 8 p.m. So
right. I got a show at St. James Live July 28th, Sunday at 4:00.
Yes.
Come on out to that, St. James Live.
St. James we were just down on Camp Creek the other day, man.
Yeah.
It's nice down there.
Yeah, got a lot of stuff down there. Mm-hmm. Well, Brett, get you some sleep, man. And you
yeah, man, we heading out of town tomorrow, and
enjoy yourself.
Yeah, man.
Like Rick James, enjoy yourself.
All right, everybody. We will see you guys next week. Everybody have a great 4th of July, Independence Day. Share this podcast. Follow us on YouTube,
Facebook.
Follow us on Facebook, and also like us on Facebook. Follow us on Instagram, and be a part of the community. All right, guys. We'll see you next week. Bye.